back to Ghosts of the Coast, Volume 13, starring Rattlesnake Dread, Kyle Crosby of Louisiana Dread, and Blake Tauzin.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, Kyle's been telling people I'm homeless. I don't think it's that funny. I mean, I work very hard. He says my career's made up. That's fine. He's like, Andre, you can barely read.
Well, that may be true, but you are very entertaining.
Oh, I'm a salesman. I don't even know how to read or count, so you don't need to.
Yeah. I mean, it's good. But again, so what I was saying, we like the stuff that we could talk about, like since it's getting close to Halloween.
It's getting very close to Halloween.
And it is ghosts on the coast.
Ghosts. Yep.
Of or on?
Of.
Of the coast.
I had to burn that in my brain.
Of the coast.
In my homeless brain.
One letter fucks me up.
It does.
I mean, they got buku ghost stories. Not even just in New Orleans, just like everywhere. Sure, they got a bunch of them down about, you heard too.
Oh, yeah. And, okay, so I was listening to a couple podcasts and listening to some videos on YouTube. Do you know how lucky we are that we live so close to New Orleans?
Every day. Every day I think of how lucky we are.
Like, even if I lived states away, that would probably still be my most favorite place. Because just the vibe you get there is unbelievable.
Bruh, I talk to people from all over the world. Mongolia to New Jersey, which is kind of the same. No, I'm just kidding. No, like really everywhere on the globe. And they say that New Orleans is their favorite city. Because it's not like the rest of the United States. They feel like most of them, well, I don't know about now with COVID, but the majority of these people will fly into New York or LA and they would do a big US road trip. And they say that when they get to New Orleans and they get to Louisiana, specifically southeastern Louisiana, they'll talk about how it's like going to a different country than what they've been seeing and stuff. Even the stores and shit like that. And that gives me so much pride in that, and just being from here and being able to wake up every day and you're so close to New Orleans, you're so close to actual culture and shit. So every day.
One of the greatest travelers and documentarians, Anthony Bourdain, said that New Orleans is out. There's nothing that even comes close, and he's been all over the planet, and he said nothing comes close to New Orleans. There's no other place you can go and be like, hey, this feels like New Orleans. There's not another place on the planet.
Right. I love that, man. And even Bob Dylan, for all you hippies out there, Bob Dylan said, I love a lot of places, but I love New Orleans more. It's
true. It's the weirdest and most favorite place I've ever been. Mm-hmm. It's creepy. It's fun. The food is great. The people are awesome. Don't believe anything that other people say, like, oh, I don't go to the city. Well, it's because you don't like to have fun.
Yeah, you don't like culture. You don't like to have fun.
It's the Mecca. It's the best place to go.
Mm-hmm. I know some people are like, oh, I don't like city life. Well, I mean, you don't have to go to Bourbon Street. In fact, I'm actively against that. I think you should, go get your little hand grenade or something just for the novelty of it. Go take a picture down there. But there's so much to see. Every corner of that French Quarter is historical, but even just as it's been there almost as long as everywhere else in the state. At least South Louisiana, like on the bayou and stuff. Grand Isle, they had people down there from, late 1700s, but then they had people there a little bit before that, Native Americans, just all kind of little stories.
I just learned about some Native American stuff. Do you know that Poverty Point was started 1,000 years before the pyramids? That's hard to accept.
It's hard to believe. 1,000 years before the pyramids.
The pyramids, right.
That was from the Plaquemine culture up there. Wow.
Poverty Point. It's one of the oldest sites, and there's another one called Winston something that's very close to it, and they're lining it up. They say that it has some, like it's lined up with the stars. I don't know how you'd say that. But they're saying that if it actually lines up with all the stars, that's like highly advanced.
Yeah, they were really into astrology and stuff.
Right.
Yeah. Wow. That's it. I mean, so if this I mean, I'm not doubting you, Andre. You know I never
You
doubt
should.
you.
Everybody should
I never
fact
doubt
check.
you. You know,
Everybody
I'm-
should fact check everything I say.
I don't know if it's older than the pyramids, and if it is, fucking tight. Even if it isn't, fucking tight. You know, it is. It's very old, but you cannot have a place so old and rich in all different cultures and not have some crazy
Mystical.
shit going on.
Yeah, right. Stuff that just doesn't make sense.
Yeah, you don't see that shit in Iowa, you know. So
No.
it's stuff that
You don't actually see anything in Iowa.
right.
Just joking. Sorry.
We love Iowa.
Yeah.
Des Moines French, so
There you go.
we got a little tie. But anyway, they had this story. Now it is in the French Quarter, but I'm trying not to tell as many French Quarter stories from in our future episodes.
Can I just pause just for a second?
No.
Okay. I know you said you doubted me on the Native American story. I just want to. Whenever I finish my my relic room, I'm putting a big sign on the door, and it's gonna say, "Don't ever let the truth come between a great story." So
I like that.
that's what I'm going to live by. If I hear a cool story, I'm going to let you know. It's up to you to go and check to make sure everything. I'm just regurgitating shit that I find, that I figure out. I'm not a scientist. I'm not a historian. I'm just a really clever guy that sounds really good on radio or on YouTube or whatever. And I find some pretty cool shit. And I tell you what I think it is.
Yeah.
So if I'm wrong, oh well, I'm going to keep saying it.
I
I'm
like
going to
that.
say what's ever cool.
Yeah,
I'm not going to let the truth get in the way.
that's
I'm
cool.
going to stand by that.
Nice. It's entertaining.
So I didn't mean to interrupt you. So
Yeah, you did.
I did.
Yeah.
I did. I stopped you. Go
I
ahead.
forgot what I was gonna say now. No.
Oh.
So I'm gonna try to lessen the French Quarter stories, but this one was fucking crazy. And this is gonna be in a Louisiana Dread episode, but it was truly something that I think needs to be kind of put on the screen. It's easy to do like a little 20-minute horror thing about this, 22-minute horror episode about it. But it was this guy. His name was Hans Mueller. He and his wife are from Germany, and they immigrated to the United States, specifically New Orleans in the 1800s. And I mean, they're German. They only have a few things they could do when they get here in the 1800s, and that start up a sausage factory. Sausage factory.
Some good German sausage is always awesome.
Brats and schnitzels and all kind of cool stuff. And it was good, apparently, because they got real popular. You know, they were breaking their numbers in sales. But over time, I'm sure a lot of people listening too, they know somebody in their life, or if this might be you too, that if you reach a certain level of success in what you do, it starts getting to your head. You know? And
I think both of us can attest to that.
well, just because I know you. So it's... so, I mean, it eventually got to Hans' head. You know, all this popularity. He thought he's big shit, cock of the walk, just walking up and down the French Quarter.
Thought he had the best sausage.
He had the best sausage. He's just walking around with sausage and just knowing it's the best in the area. And he needed more help, quote, around the factory. So he hired this much younger girl to oversee. First it was helping the factory, making the sausage and packing the sausage, and then it advanced to, hey, come in my house and do some housework, some like cleaning and all this kind of stuff. And the wife's kind of like, oh, okay. So it eventually just evolves to just a full-blown affair, and the wife finds out, and she threatens to leave Hans. And he was just like, shit, what do? So he came up with the idea to just kill his wife
Obvious.
and run off with the girl. Well, not run off, but stay with the girl.
There's no other option, so.
Right. you think that, yeah? Well, he didn't know what to do with the body after.
Oh my God, I know where you're going with this.
I was waiting for you. Throws that in the grinder and starts making sausage out her body. But he noticed it looked similar to the brats he'd make, all the pork. So he just, being a businessman and all, and a butcher, not to offend any butchers out there, the mass following of butchers we have listening to us. Thank you, Milwaukee. He serves it to his guests.
Oh my God.
In an attempt to just get rid of any evidence, get rid of all that kind of stuff. But I mean, he couldn't he was just a regular. He wasn't this kind of like sadistic murder. I think he was just stupid. Just straight up stupid. So he wasn't some kind of, premeditated murder and all this kind of stuff. He literally just strangled her and then threw her body in the grinder, serve it to the fucking, you can't be all there. That's what I'm saying.
No, I mean, it's going to be difficult for you to sleep that night.
And many nights afterwards, because and this is from the police report. So the police report said,
when did this happen?
This
What
is
year?
this is 1800s.
Okay.
Now this is like,
I just wanted to make sure I'm not going like get a lucky dog on bourbon next week and be like, oh yeah.
No, this was like last week. Shit. No, this was in 1820s, and he's like trying to deal with all this guilt. Meanwhile, one of his customers bites into their sausage and finds a golden tooth.
Oh my God.
So they're like, oh, what is this? He can't say, oh, my pig had a cavity and we needed to cap it, So
my pigs have the golden teeth.
The golden teeth. It was just a pig's grill or something. But they basically go to the cops, and the cops come looking for Hans, and it's at 720 Ursuline Street in New Orleans, if you're there. So Hans goes over. The police. So the police go looking for Hans, and they pull up to his house, knock on the door. He ain't there. They kick through the door. He's upstairs, cowering in the corner, and screaming his ass off in his drawers about a dark figure that had been following him in the weeks after his wife died, and a week or so after his wife was killed. And that dark figure convinced him to kill her. And he just responded as this figure being taller than the door, which, if you've never been to New Orleans or like in the French Quarter stuff, this house has about 10 to 12 foot ceilings. So he said it was taller than the door to get in there. And so you're looking at about like maybe 8 feet tall, 7 feet tall, something like that. And that it just followed him and he just went crazy. And that's how he'd spend the rest of his life.
Just crazy.
He went to an institution, and eventually he just took his own life. He killed himself.
Oh my God.
But
and you hear a bunch of stories about New Orleans where it's not just like regular ghosts. Like they see something that's completely different, like demons and stuff.
Yeah, there's at Lafitte's blacksmith shop. It's not a ghost at all. It's a demon.
That's crazy.
And that's the scarier ones, because those, they fuck with you.
Was that the end of the story? Like,
no, interrupted me again.
Go ahead.
But that's the thing. Is their ghosts are still there, and when you have these places in the city, they're bound to. Baton Rouge is the same way. Lafayette, all these big cities that have, it's an old city, and they have all these old buildings. Something horrendous happened in a lot of buildings in New Orleans, just because it's the older of really. It has most people. It's all concentrated and all this kind of stuff. But at the same time, whenever something traumatic happens, like a traumatic murder or just something very sad, like an orphanage burning down, that energy is still there, and that those spirits, they never, it's just a traumatic way to die. So that same thing with Hans. He still walks in his house back and forth. Now, there's only been one instance of somebody seeing the dark figure that he talked about.
Like the demon?
The actual demon, yeah. And the wife's there too. So it's the wife and Hans, and they're stuck in the same house for all eternity.
Jesus. So he's screwed up big time.
I'll say. But that's, like I said, there's only one account that I saw of somebody reporting have seen the actual demon, and they got out of there real quick.
That's crazy. I've heard stories in New Orleans of ghost stories where it's not like a figure, like someone passed away and then their ghost is there. That they actually see, like even in like Metairie and stuff. They said that there's a some type of creature that has horns that come out of their back, that come down. I heard about it today. I was doing a little research to have some talking points today, and I've never heard of that. It's a green creature, comes from the swamps. Like when people were banished from New Orleans, I think they sent them to.
Oh, that's the Grunch.
That's it.
The Grunch.
The Grunch.
That's a cool story.
And the horns come out of
We
its
never
back.
talked about that on this fucking show?
I think you might have mentioned it when we were talking about all the cryptids.
Maybe.
But I heard like when people were banished out there, and it kind of looks like a goat, but it has horns coming out of its back.
Mm-hmm. It's the people that worked in the side shows in the circus. They were called freaks, you know, like with Freak Show and stuff like that. Just conjoined twins, the bearded lady, the strong man or whatever.
People from Golden Meadow.
People from the Point. No, just kidding. That's my family. My family's from the Point.
He's not joking.
But no, like these like, you know, people with deformities, and that's in the 20s whenever that decline started happening with the circus, and just people weren't going anymore, and a lot of them traveling circuses went out of business, and these people had to stay in the city, and they were ridiculed. I mean, God, people are kind of hateful to people with deformities today, much less.
If you speak a different language, they hate you.
Of course. And back then, I mean, Jesus, they string you up if you were different like that. So they were obviously, you know, bullied and harassed. So it wasn't as so banished as it was, hey, let's get the fuck out of the city. Nobody likes us. You know, we're going to be hated.
Let's go to the swamp.
Let's go. It's in New Orleans East. At the time was undeveloped. It's called the Grunch Road. And they went out and they made a little encampment there. But, again, kids, they're fucking mean. Children are meaner than adults sometimes because they just have no social
And they're
cues.
scarier.
Oh, children ghosts? Mm-mm. And even like with The Shining and stuff, like one of those little girls walks up to me and tries to if I'm alone in that house, I'm kicking the shit out of her. So I don't see, and again, it's a ghost, and these, you know, or the demons, whatever they were. Kid ghosts scare the shit out of me.
Oh, that's the worst. I've said that plenty of times on the podcast.
Mm-hmm.
Like the Andrew Jackson Hotel.
Oh yeah.
That was an orphanage in the early 1800s.
We need to finish the Grunch first.
Okay, go ahead. We'll get to that next.
Yeah.
Remember that.
I like that. Yeah. Where were we fucking at with the Grunch?
You said it was in the east side of New Orleans.
Oh yeah, it was east side of New Orleans, and they just made it like a little encampment, and the kids, they just venture out the city and they still bully these people, you know, and people would ride out and just say, oh look, those are the freaks, start throwing shit at them. So they didn't know what to do except talk to the devil. And
the kids or the freaks?
The freaks.
Okay.
Because they felt as though they were shunned from God, that God turned his back on them and made their lives living hell. So they said, let's look towards the devil for help. And the devil made this creature called the Grunch Monster. And because it's named after where the road used to be called. And the Grunch protects these people. So anybody would go out there, the Grunch would fuck them up. And basically they would just kind of be living out there, and nobody knew, I mean, everybody knew not to go out there.
The descriptions of the Grunch is like horrendous. Mm-hmm. From what I've heard, it had the head of a goat, but it didn't have horns, or it had horns on its head, but it had horns coming out of its back.
Okay.
And it had a green color.
The descriptions vary.
Yeah, sometimes it's green, sometimes it has fur, sometimes, you know.
The bottom of a goat, like the legs of a goat, is the most consensus thing that I've seen. I know what you're talking about. I mean, like I said, there's a bunch of schools of thought. Same with rougarou.
Yeah.
You know, everybody has their own story.
Sometimes it looks like a werewolf. Sometimes it looks like whatever.
Right. And well, the Grunch. What you were saying that what you remember of it? I interrupted you.
I was freaked out that it had horns coming out of its back.
Yeah.
That freaks me out because my brain just goes like all kind of different directions when I hear horns coming out of its back.
Of course.
If I would see that, I mean, squealing like a 12-year-old girl and I'm running away.
Mm-hmm. That's actually one of the episodes of Louisiana Dread, and we finished writing
About the Grunch?
About the Grunch.
Ooh, I'm gonna go watch that.
Go
check that out.
Yeah, and
subscribe.
It's 20. It's gonna be 28 minutes long. We didn't film it yet, but it's all written. And
are you gonna be on Grunch Road?
No, it's all been developed, but they have another. There's two stories of the Grunch. I'm sorry, the same story, but it's two separate locations. One of them is the Grunch Road on the River Road by Edgard and Wallace.
Okay.
And then the other one's in New Orleans East. The one in New Orleans East is now a big intersection. I mean, a big street, because it's all developed now.
Right.
But there's the other one that's on the river that we're going to actually try to film by to get the same feel as it would have been in New Orleans East
at the time period.
So it'll take place around New Orleans, but it'll still be, we still shooting and stuff in Vacherie and in Edgard. Because just to get that isolation, but it's
Vacherie's a creepy place.
Yeah, but it's just to get that feel of, because it's like a cane.
So they would see it in Vacherie?
They see it in Edgard.
Okay.
Yeah, maybe Vacherie too, but from what I read, it was all it's all like Wallace and you could look it up. It's all on Google and stuff like that. But for us, it's going to be these kids coming back from a concert in the 80s, and they're going to take the Grunch Road as a shortcut to get back to the city. And
bad move.
Exactly. Crazy shit happens. You find out the whole story of the Grunch, historically accurate version of the Grunch, and well, as best as we can make it, you know.
Let me ask you about another story I heard. So I heard that along the river, I'm not sure exactly where it was, there was a lumber company that was cutting down some huge oak trees to build some of the plantations, and 16 of their workers disappeared. Never found any of their bodies or anything, and they said that whether it was a spirit or a demon or whatever that lived around those trees or in that part of the woods just took them.
I was rougarou.
But have you heard of the 16 that disappeared?
No, I
loggers?
didn't. No, but I know the logging company. There's only one in that little area.
Which was?
Lusher.
That's like the
that's like what the little town's named after. Lusher.
Oh, okay. Didn't know that.
Yeah, it was the logger, and it was cypress trees.
History fact.
They didn't cut down oaks. It was all cypress. Because it was just expands and contracts, and termites hate the taste of it, so it would all been.
And cypress are nice and straight. You can use them.
Yeah, and the oaks won't grow in the swamp.
No.
If you're in the swamp, that's all cypress.
And they're wicked, and they're hard to cut down.
Yeah, and they're illegal to cut down now.
Right. Do you know about the tree that's in Lockport that they tried to cut down?
That's crazy.
That's a creepy tree.
That's one of the first like local horror stories I've ever heard.
Yeah. Okay, I'm going to tell you the part that I heard. I heard when they tried to cut it down that when the guy was running the chainsaw, he could hear screeching of a woman.
Really? I didn't hear that version. I heard that, the chain
would always break.
Yeah.
And I heard while they were trying to cut it, they could hear the screeching of a woman.
Wow.
And it's still, like, half of it is still, like, vibrant, and the other half is dead.
Well, they tried burning it, too, to weaken it, and it rained, and it put it out.
That is crazy. You know that there was I found artifacts, right? I have a bottle at my house from 1906.
Really?
That I dug, like, 50 feet away from that tree.
Come on.
Because there was, like, either a house or a homestead not far from there.
Wow.
I mean, that tree is extremely old. It's probably like 300 years old if I had to guess. So people have lived there for a while.
Yeah.
But I have that bottle at my house.
That's interesting. I
like
that.
Oak trees are just creepy.
Oh, dude. Especially when they have the Spanish moss on it.
Yeah, they look wicked. Wicked. If you're coming from another state and you want to come to Louisiana, that's one of the things that they see that people want to go and experience is those wicked,
Live
crooked
oak.
looking.
And they get, like, the older they get, they just basically collapse upon their own weight. They get so big. That's why they put those big metal braces
Oh, to hold up the branches.
to hold them up, because that lengthens their lifespan. And
What's the oldest trees that they have in Louisiana?
I don't
trees.
know. I don't know about in the whole state. I know New Orleans has the largest collection of live oak trees in the world.
Well over 500, right?
Well, over 500, maybe some of them 600 years old.
Jesus.
Yeah, like the dueling oaks with
Yeah.
people. So I don't know if people know this. In Creole culture, it's they're very proud people, and when go figure, I'm prideful.
I'm proud of myself.
I'm fucking prideful.
Yeah, I am self-centered, very much so.
No. Anyway,
This is the Andre Show.
I thought your name was Rattlesnake.
It is.
Okay, so
Don't play upon my mental anguish.
Never.
You know I have split personality.
you told me you want to do stand-up. Only people to do stand-up are
We're
mentally ill.
coming soon, guys. Me and Kyle getting back on the
No,
stand-up tour, baby.
Not happening.
It's coming. He doesn't want to release the secret, but it's
Never.
happening.
No, don't. I'm not.
Hey.
And now a clip from Louisiana Dread.
Cajuns, Acadians, Acadiens. They were the descendants of the first European settlers in an area called l'Acadie, which is today Eastern Canada. Quebec, Nova Scotia, New Brunswick, Cape Breton, all that. Now, in the late 1600s, early 1700s, the Acadians found themselves caught in between two colonial empires in New England and New France. When the Acadians refused to sign an oath of allegiance to fight for the British king, New England and British regular troops would embark on what is known as the first recorded ethnic cleansing of people in North America. Between 1755 and 1785, half of the total Acadian population were killed by starvation, drowning, and violence. Enduring this forced relocation, thousands of Acadians made their way into Spanish Louisiana, and it was capped off in 1785 when Spanish King Carlos III sponsored 7 ships to take thousands of Acadians to Louisiana, with nearly all of them settling in the Bayou Lafourche area, reuniting families and thus ending the decades-long trauma. Over the intervening years, Acadians have left an invaluable mark on not only a Louisiana culture, but American culture. Despite having been separated from their original North American homeland for centuries, Acadian identity has remained alive along Bayou Lafourche and the prairies west of the Atchafalaya Basin. Withstanding cultural genocide, loss of the French language, hurricanes, civil war, oil spills, Bobby Jindal, and everything in between, Acadians are still here, making them a worldwide example of cultural resilience.
Thank you for listening to Ghosts of the Coast. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. And go check out Louisiana Dread and subscribe to their Patreon. Ghosts of the Coast, a DSR production.